Chris Villani joins us from ESPN Radio and WEEI, covering the New England Patriots, the 3-0 Patriots, with Tom Brady sitting out one more week. Good morning to you, Chris. How are you? Roger Weiland in Albany.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good to be with you.
Always a pleasure, Chris. Let me just get right to the headline. What's going on with the quarterback going into Sunday? What's the injury status of both these guys, and who's going to start? Do we know?
We don't know, and we probably won't know until we get a little bit further on in the week. I mean, even today, there'll be an injury report released, but realistically, we're looking at questionable and limited participation for both of these guys. Not even questionable, it'll just be limited today and then questionable on Friday. So, as per usual, they're not going to release a whole lot of information, but my guess would be, if I had to pick one, it would be Jacoby Brissette. He just seems to be a little bit less injured. He was able to play through that hand injury on Sunday and on Thursday and play through the second half, whereas Jimmy Garoppolo obviously had to come out of the game. So both of these guys are dinged up, but it looks like at least one, and according to reports, they're hoping that maybe two of them, both of them will be available in some capacity on Sunday against the Bills.
Now, the initial report on Brissette was that the hand injury was a lot more serious, right? And I even read an article somewhere about possible surgery, but that's obviously not happening, and he's going to be okay.
Yeah, he's not going to need surgery. It may just be a pain tolerance thing. And for what it's worth, after the win on Thursday, when he got the game ball and they were celebrating in the locker room, he was giving out some pretty firm high fives with that hand. So I don't know if that says anything, but it doesn't seem like it's all that serious. That's why, if I had to guess, I would say Brissette's going to be the quarterback. Either way, I don't think it changes the game plan all that much. I don't think the Patriots are going to get too crazy with what they do. I think they'll play a little bit of a scaled-down offense. It'll be a big LeGarrette Blount game, especially against a weaker run defense in the Buffalo Bills. So I think the Patriots will sort of rely on what really helped them against the Texans, which is a stout defense and outstanding special teams.
Yeah, Chris, I think you're right. I don't think it makes really any difference. Either one of those two, obviously capable, and they're 3-0 without Tom Brady, as we talk with Chris Villani, who covers the Patriots, the ESPN Radio and WEEI. Are you surprised, Chris? You cover this team. You knew the storylines going in from the preseason. Everyone knew Brady was going to miss 4 games. Did you think it was really possible that they could get through 4 games and be 4-0, and now they have the chance to do that with a win over the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I absolutely thought it was possible. I had them going 3-1. That game against Arizona, that Sunday night game to lead off the season, was the one that I think a lot of us penciled in as a potential loss. And after they won that game with Jimmy Garoppolo, even with Garoppolo getting hurt against the Dolphins, I think a lot of people felt good about their chances to go 4-0. Now, if you told me on September 10th, what I think we kind of know now, that the Cardinals were maybe an overrated to wildly overrated team in the preseason, at least based on their first 3 weeks, that would have changed my prediction. But this is a really good roster, guys, top to bottom. It's one of the best young defenses in the league. And it was an absolute special teams clinic that the Patriots put on Thursday night against the Texans. They love playing, and Bill Belichick talks about this a lot, complementary football. So even though the quarterback situation, rightfully so, is going to get a lot of attention, this team, this roster, it is just flat out better than the first 4 teams they're playing. Plus, they get 3 of those games at home. So, yeah, if they came away anything less than 3-1, I think it would be a disappointment. And now that you're staring at the Buffalo Bills on Sunday at home, a place where Buffalo just doesn't win. I mean, they won a game at the end of 2014 when the Patriots were resting a lot of their guys. But other than that, the Bills haven't won a straight-up meaningful game at Gillette Stadium since 2000. They just don't win there. I don't think Rex Ryan's coming in and beating Bill Belichick on Sunday. So, yeah, even 3-1 at this point would be, I think, a disappointment.
Chris, Zach By hanging out in studio with Roger this morning. I want to ask...
The biggest Buffalo Bills fan I know, by the
way. You mentioned that dominant record. The Pats are 14-2 at home against the Bills under Belichick, and one of those wins, I think, was without Brady, and you mentioned the other win, and that was over a decade ago. But does your perception of the Bills change after their dominant performance this past Sunday against Arizona?
Maybe a little bit. I was surprised, but the fact is, again, I really think the Cardinals are an overrated team based on what we thought they were going to be in the regular season. I just don't think they are as good as that roster that got them all the way to the NFC title game last year. I certainly like the fact that they won the game, if for no other reason that it adds a little bit to the already sizable hubris of one Rex Ryan. And I know that he's been pretty vocal at the start of the week, talking about going after Belichick if he's the quarterback and doing an impersonation of Belichick, which was a horrible look for him because I think it just opened the door for the idea that, wow, you can't even impersonate Belichick at the press conference podium, much less on the field. Ryan is a guy who the storyline is, the talk is that, well, he can come into New England and win. He can give Bill Belichick fits done it in the past. He came in and won a big game in 2010, but these are completely different rosters. And the fact is, he's still 5-10 against Bill Belichick. He still loses 2/3 of the time. So, I was a little bit surprised to see Buffalo win that game. I did think the score wasn't quite indicative of the way the game played out. But at the same time, I still think the Patriots are a better team, and I think they win at home on Sunday.
I agree. My partner does not, though. Chris, I got to ask you one more question. When Brady comes back, well, what kind of start do you? I mean, he's going to be handed a 4-0 football team. I mean, these guys have done a great job filling in. The game plan has been perfect. Now here comes the superstar. Probably a little bit pressure on Brady to keep this thing rolling. How do you think he'll do sliding back in to his spot?
Yeah, I have no reason to suspect he won't just. I mean, he's a guy who obviously takes care of himself pretty well, even though he hasn't been around the team, obviously, for the last 4 weeks. He's a guy that really worked hard on his conditioning, his preparation. And he's going to have a on his shoulder. This is a guy that's been motivated by having a chip on his shoulder since he was the 199th pick out of Michigan, since he was on the bench at Michigan behind a guy who played professional baseball. So this is something that motivates Brady. You know, it's just going to be one extra bit of motivation for him. And again, he's coming back to a really good roster. They'll be on the road. They'll be playing Cleveland. Coincidentally, the Red Sox may be playing Cleveland too in the postseason if things roll out the way that they look like they're going to right now. So Cleveland will be the sort of epicenter of the Boston sports universe. But I think Brady will come back just fine. And the fact that both the other
And that's Chris Villani. That's Chris Villani, and the cell phone just went, bye-bye. You know what, Chris? Perfect timing, because when you finished, that was going to be time up anyway. We thank Chris Villani covering ESPN Radio at WEEI.